All right, today we're going to talk about entry plays. So, Coach, the listeners will love this because they've listened to me for years. Before we came on live, I had to ask Coach what he meant by entry plays. So he's going to explain to you all what he means by entry plays because he already explained it to me. But I just needed to feel like I had a foundation of this before we get going because there's lots of different wording and vocabulary is important for coaches.
No doubt.
That's one of the tidbits I always tell all my members and in social media everywhere. It's like you should have a glossary of your terminology. Entry play is not one that I use in my terminology. I use like quick hitter or other things. So Coach is going to explain what he means by entry play, and then we're going to talk about a couple. I think having to do with Kansas's offense or something, but he's going to talk about what he means by entry play. So go ahead, Coach.
Well, Coach just nailed it with the terminology. So there's three different things that coaches, depending on where you're at, call it. And there's either false motions, entry play, or decoy motion. It's more of a false motion to get in that's going to give you a couple options where you can potentially score before getting into your continuity offense. So my example is in our Kansas offense, our 3-out, 2-in, if we just come down the floor every single time and we got, 5 here and 4 here and we're in our 3-out, 2-in, the defense is going to start to key in on some of that stuff, right?
Well, and if they're more athletic, here's my theory with this too, Coach. If I'm more athletic, you're going to have problems getting I love the name entry play, to be honest with you, because if you can't enter the ball, you got problems.
Correct. And I'm so glad you brought that up because you have to have pressure release plays with your playbook because they're going to deny the wings, they're going to deny the posts, they're going to be denying all these things. And if your offense relies on a pass being made to a wing, you're in trouble and you're already out of your offense already. So now what do you do?
And if you're not as good or as athletic as the opponent you're playing, you better have more than one entry play because I'm looking at for people that are listening, he has like a 1-4 set right now. Like I've had teams that we couldn't enter the ball. Like we had to spend major practice time on just getting the ball. Once we got into the offense, that's why I do love this name. And first of all, one of the reasons I love doing my podcast is I'm always learning stuff, but I love that name entry play because you need to be able to enter the ball to do anything. Like once most teams get into their offense, you're okay, unless you're so mismatched.
Yep.
But it's that initial 6 seconds of bringing the ball over half court that's so difficult.
Well, and somebody where there's ball pressure.
Yeah.
Because if there's crazy ball pressure and they make you pick up the ball, and then all of a sudden you're like, what's going on here too? And then you're out of your offense, without the wings even being denied. Or then they can really get up and deny it.
They can really get up and deny it. If they're more athletic, it's hard. All right, so let's talk about these two. So do they have name? First of all, do you name your entry plays? How do you do?
Oh yeah. So this is DC Kansas Fan. So so they know it's Kansas Fan as a flair. We got a flair coming somewhere in here. I try to name my plays that make it easy for my kids to understand because of the terminology and the vocabulary. It's like I can basically walk them through what we're going to do. So you can see.
So before we go on, so that's a golden nugget for all the coaches that are listening. Name the play. Who cares if your opponents know? Literally, I will call plays post entry. I don't care if you know that we're going to, because if we run it right, we're still getting it into the post for the entry.
Yep.
Keep it simple because if they have, there's stuff I've read that if the kids have to process more than one thing, you want them to process one thing. Like if they have to process, coach is calling it orange Kansas, slice, and it has nothing to do with Kansas or the color orange or they have to process that and then figure out they got to go set a ball screen.
Right.
Just call it ball screen, and then it's easier for them to process. So that's a golden nugget that coach just gave you. But go ahead.
And you can see here too, the DC stands for dribble entry, the D, and the C stands for circle. And what I end with is U, which you'll see in the next play here, which is Utah, which is a pick and roll. And all that is you got number one, dribble entry. So we don't have to worry about making a pass.
So over describe these, coach, so people that are listening.
Okay. So we start off in a high 1-4 set. Number one, has got the ball, the point guard up top, and he is going to dribble. He or she is going to dribble over to the wing, and number 2 is going to get out and come down here and receive a down screen from number 5, and kind of go into, some people call this zipper action, loop action, circle action, whatever you call it at your school or where you're at, is whatever. But and that will free up a pass to number 2. Okay. That'll take us over here to the second part of the frame. Now, once 1 comes over and makes that pass to 2, you can see in frame number 2 here, 3 is popping up, okay, is going to sprint to the ball. So we're not going to jog up. We might even create a little contact into his defender here and then sprint up and receive.
Get some space.
Yep. Number 1's going to cut through all the way to the weak side corner, okay? And you can see 5, and number 1's also going to be coming off of 4, who's going to set like a fold screen over here on the weak side too. So we might actually have a pass from 3 to 1 right here as I go to frame 3, okay?
Yeah.
That might be a shot. Okay. And if we do pass the ball to 1 here too, you know, you might look at the spacing we have here. If we
you might not get to all these actions.
That's the great part. That's what this is for. So you're hoping to score, you know, you might score here. I mean,
5 might be open. They might cheat, and you might be able to just bounce it into 5 to start the play. Who knows? Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. If they cheat that, you can always slip or something. So again, these entry plays are trying to give you a few scoring options before we even get into what we really truly want to get into. And if you don't have a shot clock, which I think about 45 states, me and Coach, we won't go down this road. But
we won't go down this road.
If you don't have a shot clock, these are even more effective because you don't got to worry about time whatsoever. So So anyway, 3's got the ball. We didn't pass the ball to 1. 2 immediately gets a back screen from 5 because if you remember back,
I love that action. That 2 action. It's kind of like a little bit of a flare to. I love that. That is so hard for high school kids to defend.
Yep, and we always go over this at our college, right? So you want to go over the flares, depending on the shooter, right? I mean, if this is a good shooter, which we're going to make sure it is, you know, we want to be going over on that. But if he does that, and you got X5 doing this, here's another read. What if X5's got help on a good screen? Poof. Now we got this wide open. 5 can slip that and possibly hit that, okay? So, again, that's what option number 2 or 3 out of this play. Now, let's say we pass the ball to 2 on the flare. We don't have a shot, okay? Now, number 4 is going to flash high, okay? So as soon as 4 flashes high, 2 is going to hit 4, and now we're in our Kansas offense.
Which is like a 3 out, 2 in.
It's a 3 out, 2 in. So, you can see here, this was actually after. So once 2 passes the ball to 4 here, 5 is ducking in, and we're looking for this right here. Okay?
I like that. So
that. 4's got the ball. We're looking for that. Okay. And if we don't have that, we always look, you know, shot. Okay. If we have the shot 4, we'll flash, possibly have a shot. If we don't have that, we'll dump the ball to 5. If we don't have that, we'll reverse the ball to 1, and then we'll just go screen away, and then 2 will come back.
Well, what I tell my guys too is like, we run plays to get open. If you're open, take it. Like, it's like, sometimes it's like, I think we get so movement in these actions too. I love that. Oh, okay. So is the second one also a 3x2 or a Kansas?
Yeah, it is. It does go into a 3 out, 2 in. It's the same kind of basic principle, basic setup. This is DCU. Okay. So again, I talked about this briefly. 1 dribbles entry, 2 has the same circle action.
So it's the same high 1-4. It's literally kind of the same entry as the last one to start with.
It is. Exactly. Okay. The only difference this time, and this is so effective, and I don't know why, I don't really see it at the high school level. I have no idea why. NBA runs a lot of it. High-level college Michigan State is excellent at this.
To be honest, we don't have enough time to teach some of this stuff, to be honest with you. You ask why we don't do it. It's like, I'd love to do some of this stuff, but it's like some of this takes breakdown time for at least my guys. I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it depends, you know. I mean, if you're drilling it on a daily basis and it just becomes embedded in their head. But this is great. This is just a simple roll and replace. So we have the dribble entry from 1 that goes to the wing, 2 circles off the down screen from 5. We hit 2. Now comes the U, the Utah, which is coming off. So 2 is coming off here off 4 screen. So 4 comes up immediately on 2's catch and sets that screen. So what happens here on 2's catch, X4 is going to have to make a decision, right? So
Right.
X4 is going to have to step up and help on to stop 2 off the pick and roll.
Right.
And as that's happening, X5 is now going to have to take 4 on the roll.
Right.
Now, if you got a stretch big who can shoot the ball and you're replacing him up top, this is the pass to make right here for a nice shot, right? Now, if we don't have that, that's fine. This is what we're looking for here anyway. We're in our Kansas offense, by the way. So this just flows into what we normally do out of our continuity and our 3-out, 2-in.
Right.
So once again, we're looking at shot. 5 has a shot, doesn't have it, looking to dump on the seal in by 4. And if we don't have that, then we're going to reverse it to 1. And then boom, we're automatically into a double stagger on the weak side. And then here we are right back to the 3-out, 2-in. Now, and these are why these are entry plays, we're in what we really wanted to do.
Right. Right. Now, do you ever run an entry play as after a timeout? Do you run it? When do you run your entry plays?
Well, I run them all the time, but yeah, that's the best time after a timeout when, let's say, you haven't run your entry plays a few possessions or something like that, and you're coming out of an ATO and, hey, let's hit them with 3 or 4 different options and then flow into our continuity. So the defense during their timeout is probably going, okay, here's how we want to stop this and that, and then you hit them with this.
And how many entry plays do you tend to have?
Well, it depends. I mean, I usually at least have 1 or 2 per continuity offense.
Okay.
So, yeah, if I have a 5, because again, we talked about this. If you're being denied, you have to have those pressure release points in anything that you run.
Right. Right. But you don't want 4 or 5 probably entries for a Kansas. You probably want 1 or 2 and get really good at it.
Correct. But you can also, I mean, here's how simple this is though too. You could run DCU, right? And this can go into my Pride offense. This can go into my Kansas offense. And if I do this right here, and for those that can't see this, I'm stretching 4 and 5. And now what are we in? Now we're in a 5-out. So I got the same play that can work in 3 different offenses.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you leave the 5 in, it's kind of like a dribble drive too, a little bit. Like you can, I see what you're saying. Yeah. You put him in and now all of a sudden you have 4 out and now it's kind of the dribble drive. I love that. All right. Perfect.
You can get super creative with it. In my book, the entry plays book, it has 60 different entry plays that you can choose from that might fit into whatever it is that you do as well. So
okay, perfect. So I will put both this so people can see it. I'll put a link for Coach's book down below in the show notes so you can find it. And let me know if you have any questions.